Hey Ranger Nation, welcome back to another video, and today I'm very kind of confused on something, and this episode, part of my mind when watching this doesn't make sense at all, and I'm trying to figure it out properly. But before we begin, let's talk about the episode. So this entire episode is about body swapping, where the Rangers get swapped with each other. You have Amelia get swapped with Zato, and Ollie gets swapped with Harvey. And this episode is kind of interesting. Now, first of all, I thought that they were going to do a callback to Operation Overdrive, which would have been absolutely fantastic if they did, but they didn't, and I was just a bit kind of So in this episode, they find out that a pirate called Purplebeard was able to get a treasure and then hide it, and everyone thinks that it's inside this chest that they've got, but unfortunately it's not. We find that much later on in the episode, but it kind of links into something else. So you've got, I think, Bone Swap, which is the monster of the day, and his ability is that he can swap people's bodies straight away. Basically the voices. Now this was a very interesting thing to me, because I thought that they were going to just basically have them go, "I'm Zato" in Amelia's body, and it's basically the actress playing it would just sound a little bit like Zato and stuff like this. But we also see kind of a little bit of character development with Pop Pop, whose name is Ed, and I generally was like, that's a really kind of cool name. So with Pop Pop, he decides that he's going to go on a date, or should I say the kind of leader of the exhibition who found Purple's beard chest has asked Pop Pop on a date, and Pop Pop doesn't know what to do, so he's kind of very nervous because he hasn't dated for a very long time. And Amelia decides to take it on herself to be like, hey, I'm going to make sure that you are perfect for this date, that the date is absolutely fine, etc, etc. But mainly when you see this, it's her trying to change him completely. So you see that she's buying him new clothes, which, to be fair, he looks absolutely stunning in. I think he looks really good in that sort of is it like a waistcoat shirt? He looks really, really cool. Like for a date, it would be perfect. But then he gets he puts this cologne on, which I instantly thought this was going to cause hijinks in the entire episode. But this cologne is able to kind of attract bees, and it doesn't go very well. He kind of spills soup all over him, and thus therefore he has to change into his normal kind of work clothes, which Amelia is kind of getting annoyed about, because she's like, you can't do that, this has to be perfect for you, blah blah blah. Over time, the Rangers basically can't fight in their Ranger form because their powers have been misaligned, which is a very good explanation. I generally really liked this part, and I felt like it was kind of really cool. But one thing that irritates me, and we're kind of coming up to it, is the fact that the Rangers, when they actually morph, they figure out, so you basically get Zato, because obviously Amelia, so he obviously transforms into the first male Pink Ranger technically, but because of the way that the bodies are, it just felt like rather than get a brand new suit of Pink Ranger on Zato and stuff like that, or you could possibly color correct it all the way through, they don't do this. And I think this kind of in effect ruins it, because I had to watch this back a few times where you see basically the voices match straight away with the correct Ranger. So this is the one thing that irritates me, because when I watched it back a few times, I was like, that's completely taken out of it. So basically you have Zato as the Red Ranger again. It's basically his voice going in rather than his voice should be coming from Amelia. That's the main thing from it. And when seeing this took me completely out of the episode, and it annoyed me. It really, really did kind of annoy me, because this should have been caught in post. It should have been done properly. I don't like that. Basically, I'm going to go on a rant. I don't like it when this sort of stuff happens, because it just feels like it's very lazy in doing this. And the fact is that you're not properly paying attention and you're just going with it. So obviously, if the voice of Zato is in Amelia's body and Amelia is in Zato's body, she should be going Dino Fury Key Blaze mode and redoing it all that way. Or at least changing the body type. So obviously you've got the Russell, who plays Zato, is actually wearing a Pink Ranger suit. it makes sense that way. So I've just gone over it and I kind of rewatched back most of it, and it does feel like it's the right way. But I think what's getting me on this one is the fact that it's the body types. So obviously it feels like when Amelia morphs, or basically Zato, like around her body she's wearing this jacket all the way through, which would look like, you know, quite beefy. But because of this, it feels like that's what's kind of morphed, like the suit's morphed around her clothes. So I feel like what's kind of causing a bit of confusion in this is the fact is that you don't have the right body types. So obviously, you know, it should have been, as I said before. So while Zato is the Pink Ranger, it's the Red Ranger would go around her body type. That's what is mainly, I think, throwing it off completely. Like now, obviously with Ollie and Happy, that's absolutely fine. You can't really tell that way. But it feels like all the way through this, even when watching it later on, it feels like all the Rangers have got their voices back and it's just been moved about, which I don't feel is the right way of doing it. And whoever was in ADR, either they didn't know what happened with the episode, so they've lined up the voices perfectly, but it just feels like it's completely off. And I think that's what kind of like gets me. I think that maybe if you had the Rangers talking in their normal ways, like, you know, and saying like, oh hey, like, you know, Ollie and Harvey are completely different, I think that would be the way forward. But it just feels like they were quite lazy on this episode and they didn't really put kind of more thought into it. And I think that's what really gets me, because the episode's been like, the series has been so great so far, but now we're just getting to the point where I'm like, this episode was lazy in my sorts of eyes. It's confused me and made me go back and watch certain clips over and over again, but it just feels like when it comes to the last part, they just went straight in with the Sentai footage, couldn't really be bothered with a few changes, and just went there, that will do. And I feel like that's really kind of like made this episode go down. I love the fact that they tried, but I feel like it could have been way better in my eyes. I feel like, you know, it just didn't kind of feel right. And I feel like if you're watching the episode and you're following it all the way through, and then suddenly you've got this massive drastic change, you're more like, huh? Why? You've taken out the episode for a very short amount of time. So I feel like this could have been the episode where you go full out and actually redo it constantly. Like, you know, it's American footage rather than using Super Sentai. I just feel like that's the thing. I think it's mainly when you hear Amelia and Zato, like their voices should have been changed, or like their body types should have been, rather than using the Sentai footage. It's just so confusing, this episode. So I'm going to probably rewatch it back properly, so I can actually get a gist on this one. But if it's coming to audio, like engineering, not engineering, but if you're basically if you're putting the right stuff forward, you should be doing it correctly and kind of making sure that the audience go, huh? What? Like that, it just angered me, and I don't know why. But apart from that, the episode was okay. I liked the fact of what they were going to do. I liked the fact that they were going to try something different, and that was the main part of this episode. I just kind of wish it went a bit more, because the entire episode either focused on Pop's dating, and there was, I don't think, apart from him, he got character growth, but I don't think the others did. But at the very end of the episode, they do get like 2 new Dino keys, which is going to be the Raptors, which I think it is. So it's kind of nice seeing that and actually seeing more powers being used outside of a battle. So I'm very kind of interested to see what's going on. I hope that this is one episode that is like the only bad one, because I think this episode is just too bad in my eyes. Like, it generally gets me angry, but maybe I need to rewatch it, and if I do, I'll put a pinned comment down below to kind of like clear it all up. But solid episode, could have been better in my eyes. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. What do you think about this episode? Are you right in with me thinking that the voices needed to be changed? Am I going crazy and I'm not kind of understanding it? Let me know. And what did you think about this episode? Let me know down below in the comments. And while you're down there, why not hit the like button, subscribe, as well as turn on notifications. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.
チャンネルをサポートしてくれてありがとう。チャンネル登録、高評価お願い。